Hello, this is Eric with Pyre Boom, and we are going to discuss a little more detail about firing systems. Well, we're going to ask two questions. Number one, what is a firing system? And number two, why would I need it? So to answer those two questions, number one is, what is a firing system? Well, right here, this is a firing system. This is a smaller 4Q unit, and this firing system enables you to light off fireworks from a safe distance. For example, 200, 300, 400 feet, maybe even you can even light fireworks even 1,000 or 2,000 feet away. So that is what a firing system is. It enables you to sit back in a chair, relax, either run what's called the script, or you can just push buttons on the system and you can watch your fireworks light. So number two then, why would I need a system? Well, you would want a system because it is going to keep you away from your fireworks. That is a huge safety factor that is just really going to improve your safety for you and your family. So it keeps everyone away from the fireworks. Because let's face it, fireworks, no doubt, they're a lot of fun, but they can be dangerous every now and then, and sadly we hear news of people getting injured or hurt with fireworks. So a firing system is going to enable you to shoot these off from a safe distance. And number two is, if you think about the financial aspect, you're like, oh, I don't want to spend the money on it. Well, if you're spending hundreds or maybe even thousands of dollars on a firework or fireworks show, of course, there is definitely some enjoyment being at ground zero and lighting off the fireworks with a torch or some type of ignition system, a punk, whatever you want to call it. But you spend that kind of money on fireworks, and then you don't really get to enjoy it because you're lighting it and you're not even really get a chance to look up because you're worried about maybe you're going to step on something or step over a cake or run into something. And then you just don't really get to enjoy it. Sure, the audience loves it, but you just spend all that money. So I used to hand light myself. I love doing remote fire. It's great because I can just sit back. I've got a little sheet of paper. I know when to push the buttons, and it's wonderful to watch the show go. And it's extremely relaxing for me. And of course, I still love the fireworks. So, and again, it adds an element of safety. So you get to enjoy your own show. So those are the two questions. So what is a firing system and why would I need it? Of course, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to post below on that. Now let's move on a little bit and talk about what you need, though. You just need three things. You need a firing system, which again, this is a 4Q system or a small system. You need one of these. You need a firing system, or sometimes they're called a kit. So you're going to need that. That's number one. Number two is you're going to need some type of an ignition or an igniter. These are one and done. They use them one time and they're done. So that's number two, is an igniter. Of course, number three, which you're very familiar with, is the actual fireworks. So that is, again, let's repeat that. So number one, you need a firing system. Number two, you need an igniter. And number three is you need some fireworks. So that's simple as that. That's all you need. They can be intimidating. Firing systems can be intimidating because you're like, well, which one do I buy? There's so many options and whatnot out there. One of the things we've noticed, especially in the past 20 years, is so much wireless technology out there. I mean, think about all the Wi-Fi. Our phones are wireless now. And so that these systems now, most of these are wireless. So you probably want to go with a wireless system. That seems to be pretty average, what most people use. There are what's called a wired system. In other words, from the remote to the receiver or module, which is this guy right here. There might be a wire, but generally those aren't used a whole lot. I mean, there are some circumstances that you use these wires and stuff like that, but we're not going to get into that today. We're going to just try to keep it as simple as possible. So you're going to want a wireless system. Now, there are different kinds of systems out there, like different brands and whatnot. For example, let me show you this system. We're going to talk just briefly about that. So if you can see this okay. This is a Firefly system, and I believe this was the first system on the market that actually uses, you can see right here, a little Wi-Fi, but basically what it is a system that you can buy as a kit, and they're pretty reasonably priced, and there's, I'm not mistaken, there's 3 of them out there that can run from your phone. So this firing system can be run from your phone, and so there are different systems of that nature out there. Personally, for me, I like to push the manual button, but it's really up to you what you like, and so there's other ones out there. Another brand is called Ignite by Cobra. That is somewhat of a new system. I think I don't think it's even a year old from time I'm making this video. So a new system out there, but that's done by Cobra, and that is a well-received system as well. Same thing with Firefly, and then there's another one out there called Crackle, but it's not too popular, but it is out there, and that can be done from your phone as well. So, but in essence, all of these firing systems, there's a bunch of different brands, different companies out there, just different styles, but they all accomplish the same thing. They're going to light your fireworks off remotely. And when it comes to the actual part of the fireworks firing system, is you have 2 parts. You have, we could say, part A and part B. So part A is going to be your controller, and that could be, as we just talked about, it could be your phone. You can light it from your phone if you have that system, or you could do what's called a manual system, in which this case this is right here. So this controller, which is part A of the firing system, this is going to stay with you. You're going to keep this with you, and you're going to push the buttons, and you're going to tell this system here to light up. So that's part A, is the remote or the controller, and that stays with you. And then the second part B of a firing system, is a receiver or a module. That's what we call this R4. R is just receiver. But this right here sits out in the field near your fireworks. And so obviously you put the antenna up, and this will sit out in the field. So that's a firing system in a nutshell. And again, in essence, these firing systems that are out there, they're all the same. You have some type of controller that stays with you, that will light off the fire, that will send the signal to the receiver or module to light off the fireworks. In essence, too, you could say wired systems are basically the same thing. We're just keeping it real simple with that. So that is your firing system. Now, when it comes to these igniters here, as we just talked about a minute ago, these are one and done. They're one-time use. And there's another brand of igniter that is very popular as well. Is this one with a blue and white wire? This is called an MJG initiator. I think sometimes they're called firewire. Some people call them E-match, but that technically is not the correct term. But they're basically 3 styles of igniters. Number 1 is, a lot of times you can tell, it will have the orange and the black, the orange wire with the black clip-on style. So that's number 1, is you have a clip-on style igniter. Number 2 is you have an MJG initiator, which is here, and I'll show you the head on this here. And let's try and push this off. Sometimes they're a little difficult, but it has this tiny little ignition head right there, and that's going to light off the fuse, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And then the third kind is E-match. You do need to have a license for those. Those are what's called regulated. That means you have what's called like a type 54. Sometimes they call it an FEL or ATF. There's a lot of terms thrown around, but those are basically going to be used for professional fireworks. So I would stay away from E-match. What's nice about these Red Dragon or Talon style igniters, these clip-on style igniters here, anyone can buy these. There's no regulation. Same thing with MJG. This brand here is a great. They're instantaneous pop when they fire here. They little, I don't want to say explosion, but I'll say pop. The instantaneous ignition. And so these 2 are not regulated. Just very well received. Great little ignition systems. Both of the great little igniters. These are both, again, one and done. Same with E-match, one-time use. Okay, so those are your igniters. Now, to set up a system, and we're just going to give you the basics of this. We're going to leave everything off, but we're going to take our module, and then our receiver, and then we have our fireworks. So we're going to set the MJG igniter aside. And what you do is, I already took this apart. It's going to have two little wires on it. In this particular unit here, we're going to set this up on Q number 1. Q number 1, see the red and black? These are called speaker terminals or onboard terminals, sometimes they're called. But you're going to, now these wires are a little bit long, but you might want to trim them up. But I can just slide this in here, push down the speaker terminal, and push this in like this. And I'm done. Like I said, I'm going to leave it off, but so on Q number 1, so in this case these are called 4 Qs, and what a Q is, what all it is associated, see 1 and 1 here, so when I press 1, it's going to fire off this Q, and a Q represents one unique fire, if you will. Now you can cook up 2, 3, or even 4, or even more than that igniters, but we won't get into that in this video. But so we have this Q, and these are lined up right here. Now it doesn't matter if it's black or red. There is no polarity on this at all in this wire. So if you mess up, no big deal, because you can't mess it up. I mean, there's no positive and negative at all, so you're good to go. Okay. And what's nice about a lot of these systems too, in this particular one, this will actually, when I connect this here, it's called continuity. And what that means is that means this is ready to ignite. Continuity is exactly that. There's actually a small voltage that actually goes through this wire and into here, and this will turn green, indicating, hey, this is ready to go. It's ready to launch, and it's not been burned or not been used. So this is Q number 1. Now to cook it up, we can push. What I like to do is you can grab it and push it to the side, the wire, and what that does is open this up a little bit more, and you might be able to see it in the video, but when I open this up here, there's going to be a small nichrome filament wire in there. Now the hole does look a little bit tempting. You might want to stick that fuse into that hole, but that is incorrect. Now this over here is the green part. It's called our leader fuse. We don't want to put that in that hole. That would be a mistake. We want to put the fuse right up top, right in here. So when you put the fuse in this way, that little wire is gonna, it's gonna wrap around the fuse to give you a really good connection. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that now. I'm gonna stick this on there, and you can give it actually like the old commercial, set it and forget it. But I'm gonna give this a good squeeze, push it in, and notice the location of it. It's fine. If you want a little further out, you can as well. I just squeeze it, and we are set up. So we have our controller, our modular receiver connected to the igniter. Wire comes in, goes to the fuse, and we are good to go. So that's how you use a simple firing system. Again, there's more advanced things you can do, but I will say this, I should have mentioned this a moment ago. I would recommend maybe getting some, just in case you come across and you don't want to, if you accidentally kick this, that would be bad, but you don't want to, you want to set it and forget it. So what I would do is maybe get some duct tape, or masking tape probably be fine too, and you can just run it maybe over top of this or in this section here, just in case somebody comes along, and even though you can pull on a little bit, but you know, you don't want to pull on that because it's either gonna rip the fuse out or it's gonna rip that little tiny little wire in there. So going back to the firing system, and when I press 1 on this, I know that'll be green there. When I press the 1, that will turn red, but obviously you know if the fireworks go off. So that is basics of firing systems with a little more detail than the other video we made, but hopefully that gives you some idea. We encourage you we're a huge fan of safety, so we highly recommend that you e-fire, which is electronic firing or firing systems. Sometimes they're called firework firing systems, but in industry we either call it e-fire or we call it our firing system. Those are all used, they're all the same terms. So if you have any questions or any comments, feel free to reach out to us, and we'll do the best we can to respond. But to hope this video helps you out in your decision making. Of course, if you want to ask us about firing systems and you think, well, this system is too small or it's not meeting my needs, you know, of course we'll recommend either a Firefly, Ignite, or a Cobra, or there's other brands out there. We can help you with that and to make you, give you a decision. Because some of those firing systems out there can get expensive. Like this unit right here, Right now it's about 35 bucks. Of course, prices of everything has been going up recently, but right now these are pretty good at 35. I don't see any changes, too much changes in that in the next few months. And then like other systems, could cost hundreds or maybe even thousands of dollars, but depends on your budget. But it's a really nice safety addition and we highly recommend it. So, hey, thanks a lot for watching and light up the sky.